Today I want to show you a technique that you might not use that often, but having it in your knitting arsenal is invaluable. That technique is the PURLWISE long tail cast on. We have here a standard long tail cast on with the right side facing us, and you can see we get this smooth line of cast on stitches. That's often not a problem when you're knitting something and you want this smooth edge either facing you or on the wrong side, but when you are knitting a project that you really would like your cast on to reflect the rest of the knitting pattern, then having the PURLWISE long tail cast on in your repertoire means that you can cast on in pattern. This cast on here is the long tail cast on PURLWISE, and you can see that we have purl bumps facing us as opposed to straight stitches facing us. That might not make a massive difference when you are just casting on all the same, but when you are wanting to work something like this seed stitch, for example, it would be handy to have cast on in pattern so that you don't get this line of cast on stitches on one side. So grab some scrap yarn and let's get casting on. I would strongly advise that you know how to do the long tail cast on knitwise before you attempt to do the PURLWISE long tail cast on, because realistically you're not going to need to use the PURLWISE long tail cast on if you're not also combining it with the knitwise long tail cast on, aka the standard long tail cast on. The PURLWISE long tail cast on starts in exactly the same way as our normal long tail cast on, with a slip knot that you pop onto your needle. Then you want to grab the two tails and you want to have your shorter tail at the front. Depending on how you prefer to hold your yarn, I like to grab the two tails in my bottom two fingers here, and then with my finger and thumb I'm going to go in between those two tails like that and spread them out into like a tent shape, and then I'm going to pull my needle down to create an M out of the yarn or a funny little heart shape. Now, to do the cast on PURLWISE, you want to take your needle and bring it round to the very back, to the yarn that is on the inside of your index finger, so on the right hand side of your index finger. Scoop up that yarn and bring it over the other side of the yarn that's on your index finger, over the yarn that is on the right hand side of your thumb, and pick up that yarn that comes on the inside of your thumb. Then you want to bring that yarn through between the two yarn strands on your index finger and up, and then you can temporarily drop that loop off and use your index finger to tighten it. And there we have a cast on that has a purl bump facing us. So just to repeat that with my hand in a slightly different angle, you've got your 4 strands of yarn. You want to go to the outermost strand of yarn on the right hand side and pick it up. Swing it over the next 2 yarn strands and pick up the yarn strand that is on the inside of your thumb. So we never actually use this outside yarn strand at all for the PURLWISE long tail cast on. Then you want to swing round, bring it back in between the 2 strands of yarn that are on your index finger, drop it off your index finger and then pick it back up with your index finger to tighten. And again, pick up the yarn that comes on the inside edge of your index finger, lift it over the piece of yarn that comes on the outside edge of your index finger, and pick up the strand of yarn that comes on the inside edge of your thumb. Then you want to pop it down through the middle of the 2 strands of yarn on your index finger, drop it from your index finger and pick it back up again with your index finger, and that allows you to tighten the stitch up. Once more, pick up the outer strand of yarn on the inside edge of your index finger, swing it over the next strand and pick up the strand that comes on the inside of your thumb. Swing it back through so that it goes through the middle of the 2 strands of yarn on your index finger, and then pull to tighten. One last time, pick up the outside yarn on the inside edge of your index finger, swing it over the other strand of yarn that's on your index finger, and pick up the inside strand from your thumb. Pop it through the 2 strands on your index finger, let go, and use your index finger to tighten it by picking the strand back up. It feels a bit uncomfortable and awkward to start with, but once you get going, it is a really good method to have. And then the real genius about the PURLWISE longtail cast on is once you've mastered the art of casting on PURLWISE with the longtail cast on, you can then go ahead and combine it with your knitted longtail cast on to allow you to cast on in pattern. You can see that you end up with the combination of your smooth knitted cast on stitches and your purl bump wrong side stitches, and that is what allows you to cast on in pattern. If you're looking for a project to tackle to practice your PURLWISE longtail cast on, then why not give the seed stitch a go? I'll link the video here, and I'll see you again for another tutorial soon. Bye!